Hey guys, welcome back to Dude We Can Fix It. Today I'm going to be walking you through some simple diagnostics and replacement on an AC compressor for this 2007 Chevy Silverado. This is the same process for your Chevy Tahoe, Suburban, GMC Sierra, Yukon, and Yukon XL. So let's get in here and check it out.
Start it up.
Got the hood open. That's going to provide a little more light to get down towards the bottom. The AC compressor is on the passenger side at the bottom of the engine bay, way down there somewhere. From the front of the truck, we're going to crawl under the passenger side. Of course, we got this nice mud flap here because it's a four-wheel drive. We'll keep on going. There's the AC compressor. When the truck's running and your AC is on, you have a pulley here, and this front part is the clutch. When the clutch is engaged, it pushes in and it locks onto the pulley. So if your AC is on, this should be spinning. Let me see if I can get you another angle. So with your truck running, turn your AC on and see if this clutch plate spins. If it does spin and you're still not generating cold air, your next step is to check your refrigerant and make sure that your refrigerant charge is correct. If it does not spin, then your next step is going to be to remove the electrical connector and check for 12 volts. If you have 12 volts and this is still not spinning, that means that your AC clutch is bad and you're going to need to replace it. Most of the time it's better to just replace the entire compressor. If you do not have 12 volts, your next step is going to be to check your refrigerant and then check your low pressure switch. Alright, so when you're taking this apart, you're going to first need to disconnect this electrical connector. On the side and push on each side, and it'll come off like such. Then you're going to want to take your electrical connector here, the key in the on position, and your AC turned on, truck not running, check for 12 volts across these two terminals. If you have 12 volts here, that means you are getting supply voltage to your compressor. And if your clutch is not engaging and your AC does not work, then you need a new AC compressor. So we'll continue with the steps to remove and replace it. Before we disconnect the AC compressor, we need to take this cap off and bleed the refrigerant out of the system. Now you will need a flathead screwdriver to remove these plastic clips holding in the fender liner. In theory, they should come apart like this. So once you get done pulling out all the plastic garbage that is holding your fender liner on, go ahead and use an 8 and 10 millimeter socket to remove the rest of the screws. Now if you have any clips in here like this and this, go ahead and pull them out from the other side. Then you can fold and remove your wheel well liner. Now you have better access to the passenger side of your engine and to the AC compressor. You can see where the compressor comes in here. We will need to remove this line with this bolt and this line with that bolt, and then we will remove the mounting bolts. You will need a 13 millimeter socket to take out these two bolts holding the AC lines on. You need to make sure that you keep these lines sealed up and keep debris from getting in the ends. I like to use a trash bag or such. And then locate them out of the way. All right, quick note for those of you that have a four-wheel drive truck, there are some extra components that make the bottom bolt down here unable to fully come out on its own without moving the air compressor. So whenever you take this out, what you're going to have to do is loosen that bolt all the way up, but you won't be able to actually get it out, and then take your other bolts out, and then you can take the entire AC compressor out and you'll be able to get that bolt out. Now we will start removing the 4 mounting bolts that hold the compressor on. They are 15 millimeter. All right, so now we will remove this 15 millimeter bolt on the top left under the exhaust manifold. And as we can see, these bolts are different lengths, so remember which one goes in which hole. All right, so this truck is four-wheel drive, which means that I have some extra components in here, which is going to make it harder to video. However, we see this is the air compressor up here. That is a bolt on the bottom right corner, and then there's the last bolt there in the bottom left corner, right there. So I'm going to go ahead and remove these. You won't be able to watch from as good of an angle. Well, the space is so tight that I'm actually going to finish removing the bolt with a 1/4 inch ratchet. Okay, so this last bolt has been quite a bugger, and it's mostly because this truck is four-wheel drive. So I have, you can see here, 1/4 inch. I'm spinning this, a couple extensions, and a universal joint. If you have a two-wheel drive model, this will be fairly simple. All right, so now that the compressor is loose, I'm going to start walking it towards the front of the vehicle and try to slip it down between these oil cooler lines. There we go. That is a snug fit. So now that we have the new compressor, we're going to remove these 2 plugs and add some oil. This came pre-charged with 3 ounces of PAG 46, which is what this compressor requires. However, it needs a total of 8 ounces. So I'm going to add about another 5 ounces to it. And then we'll rotate the clutch face around to cycle the oil through the compressor. You'll want to do this slowly. Be aware of discharge out of your high pressure side. Now we're going to reinstall these plugs for the installation to keep debris out of these holes. All right, so now we're going to wiggle this thing back into place. There we go. So you want to go over this oil cooler line, but under that cooler line. Now when you go to put this back in, you'll want to go ahead and set that bolt, in this portion here, the one down there, in this sleeve down there, and set it in place, and then run your other 3 bolts in. Otherwise, you will not be able to get that bolt in. Now, at this point, you need to make sure you rotate this into the correct orientation, and then you're going to have one of your 3 long bolts go in up here. Your 1 short bolt will go in over here. Now go ahead and get your 2 lower bolts hand tight, and then tighten all 4 up. Now that we have the compressor remounted and all these bolts tightened down, I'm going to go ahead and remove these 2 plugs. These are just to keep our compressor clean and keep debris out of these holes. Now you're going to need to get this here and remove the old gasket. We'll wipe this surface down, get it nice and clean and shiny, free from any debris. Now use the new small O-ring that was supplied. Don't have any hair in there. And push it on. There we go. Now we'll set this. Get your large line. Pull the gasket off of there. Clean this up with a rag as well. And put the new larger gasket on this one. Set that in place. Now that we have these in place, it's time to install our 13mm hold down bolts. I've applied a little bit of Loctite just to make sure they don't back out over time. Yeah. Now we'll reconnect the high pressure sensor and reconnect our electrical connector. So once you're done changing out your compressor, you got your hoses hooked up to your gauges here. You're going to want to first use a vacuum pump to pull a vacuum for about an hour. Make sure that you have a good suction on there. Make sure you're down here close to the 30 inches of mercury when you're pulling your vacuum. I've already done that. And then you shut that off completely, close that down. So go ahead and weigh your drum of refrigerant with a scale. So if you're using a can, they'll usually have a weight somewhere on here. This can is 12 ounces. Starting out here, see my drum weighed 9 pound 10 ounces. Go ahead and clear that. I've added some refrigerant and I'm now at 8 pounds and 13 ounces. So there's 16 ounces in a pound. I need a total of 26 ounces in this truck, so I need to add another 13 ounces. So that means I'm halfway there, so I need this to be down to 800. So I'll put my drum back and I will add some more refrigerant to the system. When you're adding refrigerant, you can start out by adding a little bit on your high side and your low side, but as you go along, you're going to want to fill using the low pressure side. At this point, I have added all that I can add to the system without turning the vehicle on and running the AC. So now I'm going to start the truck up, put it on maximum cool with the AC on, and that will allow me to pull in more refrigerant. So once you get all the refrigerant into the system that you need, whether it's from the cans or from a drum, once you get it all weighed in and you have everything that you need in there, go ahead and close off all of your valves and then come over here and you will close off the high side, then you will close off the low side. Go ahead and remove your connectors and put your caps on. Your caps will be labeled with either an L or an H. L for low side, H for high side. They are different and they are not interchangeable. Now all that's left to do is to replace the wheel well liner.
Start it up.
Well, that's how you diagnose and replace your AC compressor on this 2007 Chevy Silverado. I hope you enjoyed the video. Please give us a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and turn on your bell notifications for future videos. As always, dude, we can fix it.